Like we're on with a good live stream. God willing, it stays this way. All right, so I'm Moshe, and I'm coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. Today's November 15, 2025, and it's about hang on a minute, 7:57 in the morning. So it's a little early here in Israel. And it was pretty cool yesterday and tonight and last night because we had um, the rain, So it was rather cool. And I had to sleep with a blanket, and I had a wool watch cap on, and I'm checking this thing here. And I think it warmed up. Well, they were saying it'd be cloudy and rainy all day today, but you could see this bright sun. I got trouble with glaring in my eyes. Behind the device I'm talking into is a large window, and the sun's coming in a large way right now. Okay. All righty. So today we're gonna talk about what's going on with Venezuela, Russia. What's the story with the Russian intelligence ship 15 miles away from Hawaii, and things like that. Then we're going to shift over to more in the book of Daniel, specifically Daniel 11 and 12, and interpret that with the other scriptures, also Daniel 7, and try to show you things about the beast that the church touts, waiting for his return, waiting for him. Why don't they say Yeshua? Because they're waiting for the beast. The beast was in the pit, he comes out of the pit, and then he goes to the lake of fire. So he does return, and they're waiting for that jackass. And they're playing you for chumps, laughing at you, making them think they're God's superior because they can get over on you. But they're getting over on people that don't study the scriptures, or they wouldn't be in that building, in that place. But anyway, no churchianity here. So let me go into the live stream, make sure we got a live stream while people are coming in. Put a post up in there and we'll get going. Oh, we're going to get into what Iran did with capturing that tanker ship. That was very bad what they did, and I'll explain to you what they're up to. What I think they're up to. All right. Oh, they've changed their format in YouTube and they made it really horrible. Well, we got the crackpots coming in here. Nothing better to do than make fun of people. Imagine what kind of families they came out of. Their pleasure is just going around and insulting strangers. Unbelievable, huh? Okay, I get my post up here. No house barks. Cut it out. Hey, hey, hey. No! Almost done, guys. It's not a big job. All right, let me check for typos. Looking good. And let me pin this. My thanks to all those that are greeting me. I've got moderator. That's good. Okay, being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, we're going to do some praise, which the Churchianity sites don't really ever do they? Okay, there is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So what happened in Hawaii? The intelligence gathering ship, a intelligence gathering ship belonging to Vladimir Putin of Russia, came within 15 miles of Hawaii, where there's a lot of Navy bases, and was apparently collecting intelligence. And it was still considered international waters, so it was okay doing that. And the people that are fear mongering on the internet are making out that this was a fleet of Russian destroyers and submarines that came 15 miles off New York or Washington D.C. They're just trying to get you all psyched up on the headlines, and then they tell you what really happened. What do I think about that? I think it's standard operating procedure for Russia that's been going on for many decades and moving along. Don't pay a lot of attention to that. Okay. Trump's Gaza plan is a joke. He took it to the UN Security Council. Delusional move, seriously delusional. China and Russia protested against it, and several Arab states also. The problem is that China and Russia have permanent seats in the UN Security Council, and they can veto it, and any one of them vetoes it, and it's dead forever. So I don't know why Trump was wasting his time with idiocy like this. Trump is going back into SNAP, the food stamp program. The person in charge of the Department of Agriculture, which administers the food stamp program, said that they are going to people that get food stamps are going to have to reapply. Now, I don't know if that's going to mean everybody, okay? Or some people. I have no idea. But rest assured, if you're, 89 years old and they want you to reapply, this is a burden placed on somebody. Don't kid yourself. So I don't know who. Maybe just people that applied in the last 3-4 years when Biden was president. I have no idea what's going to happen. So Iran seized the ship coming from the UAE going to Singapore. It had nothing to do with Israel, okay? And the ship was owned by some guys from Cyprus, and they had it registered someplace else, which was not Israel, nothing to do with Israel. And they sent 3 go-fast boats they came and they apparently attached themselves to the hull of the boat. I don't know, they probably boarded it with boarding ladders, but I don't know what happened about that. But they did get the ship to go into an Iranian port, and they seized the ship along with the crew. So the crew was taken prisoner. Now, we don't know what this ship did. Okay, now it's up to Iran to come up with some sort of story, and I don't know if they will or they won't, but they might just say, for security reasons, we made a seizure. And, they're going to go act like Trump, like they're big shots and they can do what they want. And, that's the game they play. Little goofballs, trying to act like big boys. They don't have an Air Force. They don't have a Navy. What do they got, They go fist boats and come on. So they're testing the waters, guys, is what they're doing. Okay. The UAE is getting a little bit too close to Trump and Israel right now, so they're mad. They're testing the waters to see what Trump will do because they're contemplating a blockade. Why would they do a blockade, and what is a blockade? Okay, good question. Glad I asked it. Just kidding. Straits of Hormuz is a choke point in the Persian Gulf. That's right by Iran. So they could hit this Straits of Hormuz with land-based artillery to some extent, anti-ship missiles to some extent, but regular missiles to a tremendous extent. Okay? They also have way over 1,000, maybe 1,500 or more go-fast boats. These are boats that run probably 60 to 70, 80, 90 feet. They're similar in a way to an American PT boat in World War II. These are private vessels that they buy and they modify, like a technical, where they take a pickup truck and they put a metal plate in the bed and they rivet the plate into the bed, and then they probably put a 1/4-inch steel plate on the top, and it's probably about 15 inches square, or 18 or 12 or something. And then on the bottom of the bed they put another plate, and what I believe they would do is put thick rivets or screws, probably riveted in, or maybe screws, and pin them in or something. And they attach the screw, or the rivet goes through the top plate, the bed of the pickup truck, and the bottom plate, and then they screw it together and pin it so the screws don't get loose, so they weld it or whatever they're doing. Rivet would be welding, and the plate's going to hold pretty darn well, okay? And then they mount typically a 50 caliber machine gun. It's possible they can mount a 30, but a 50 is the gun of choice, I suppose, because it can rip up vehicles pretty well. Just Full Metal Jacket will usually rip up vehicles. Now, you might not rip up an armored personnel carrier, but you're going to rip up most vehicles with that. There are armor-piercing shells, but I doubt they have those. They probably just got standard 750 grain ball, which is Full Metal Jacket ammo, and that's it. Probably 3,300 feet per second. It's awfully deadly. You can go through buildings, all kinds of things. So, that's just a hybrid, right? So they took a civilian vehicle and turned it into a weaponized vehicle. And the gun itself usually has some metal plates on it to give some modest level of protection to the gunner. Not much, but some, you know. And that's how they do it. So the go fast boats normally have a gun mounted on the deck, which could be a 50 cal or a 20 millimeter or a 25 millimeter. Probably a 50 cal or a 20 millimeter gun. And that is very dangerous to a non-military vessel, believe me. Very dangerous. And they have the ability to shoot shoulder-fired missiles. They could have a missile launcher tube over on the shoulder. They could have Katyushas. They have Katyushas that are anti-tank. They're penetrating. And if you shoot a ship with that, you're going to create problems. Now, these commercial vessels aren't running around with 16 inches of belted armor like a World War II heavy cruiser or destroyer or aircraft carrier. They've probably got, 5/8 or half-inch steel or something like that, which is pretty normal for, if it's a really large boat, it might have 1 inch, It's, just about all they need. Um, Now, I don't know what a cruise ship, when you get into cruise ships that are, now they're hitting about 1,100 feet, they got 18, 19 decks high. They might be running 2 inches of steel or something like that, which should be about like that to support all of this, or maybe even bigger. I don't know. Armored vessels aren't that common. I don't know how they armor the aircraft carriers, but I imagine they do. Uh, in World War II, the aircraft carriers had wooden decks. So when a plane would blow the deck up, or planes would crash, or kamikaze Japanese would hit the deck, and what the guys would do is put the fire out where the wood was burning, and then they would hose it down. Then they would take the pieces of wood that were broken, damaged, or burned and throw them overboard. And they carried new wood, and they would take the new wood and cut it to suit and lay it in there and repair it. But today it's metal. So if you wind up with a hole in it, you gotta cut the hole out, make it a square with straight edges with a torch. Then they can take a steel plate that matches the hole they cut out and weld it in and grind it to make a smooth fit and that kind of thing, They also can launch torpedoes off these go-fast boats. They put the torpedo on the deck, and it has usually like a CO2 or charge that propels the torpedo a few feet off the deck into the water. And then when it gets in the water, the motor, which is generally battery powered, in the torpedo kicks in and starts propelling the torpedo. And they could aim the torpedo in the most immature way just by pointing the boat at the target. And mind you, they're not going to be more than a mile or two away, probably no more than a mile from the target. The other thing they could have is a wired controlled torpedo. So the controllers of the go fast boat, the bosses, can steer the torpedo because it's wire guided. I don't know if they have that sophistication. They might have it on some boats, not others. So they have sometimes they could put two guns on the boat. They could put a 20 or a 25 millimeter, and they could put a 50 in there. I don't think they're putting like 30 millimeter guns in there. That's a pretty hefty gun. So's a 25. A 20 millimeter is like a baby artillery piece. The bigger you get, the 25 and 30, they become more and more like artillery. Baby artillery is a 3-inch gun. most of the time you're going to encounter a 5-inch gun. But I don't hear them putting 5-inch guns on the go fast boats. It's probably too much for the boat, you know. They got to rivet it into the boat. A lot of these boats are fiberglass, so how the heck are you going to put something really powerful like that in there? That's why I'm thinking they probably stop at a 50 millimeter, a 50 caliber. I think that's about it. But again, that's going to cause a lot of damage if they go through the trouble of building armor-piercing shells using molybdenum or something like that. Oh, with the speed of 3,300 feet per second, there's not much that's going to stop that, unless you're talking heavy belted armor with hardened steel plates, which is rarely going to be encountered. You're not going to get anywhere with that. So these go fast boats, they've got over 1,500 of them, could swarm attack an aircraft carrier. They can do a lot of things. Remember, these are kamikaze boat pilots. They're going out there and they don't care if they get killed. That's how the Muslim terrorists are. So they'll, hey, I get killed, I'm up in heaven immediately. I got my 40 virgins. I don't get killed, I win. Hey, I got fame and glory and honor, that kind of thing. So three of these boats came on this tanker, and they scared him, and the tanker pulled into port, and the crew is captured. The ship is there. Iran's not making any statements enlightening us as to what they did. The general in charge of the American military in the region said that what they did was wrong because it was international water and everybody has the right to free navigation. Since this happened, there are still ships traveling freely there. However, the insurance companies may very likely get upset. And get upset means your premiums went up 50 or 100%, or you're not going to have any coverage if you go into the Straits of Hormuz, which is inside the Persian Gulf. Then a vast amount of your shipping is going to drop off. What's insured on these boats is the boat itself, which could be many millions of dollars, the crew, and the payout's going to be at least $250,000 on a crew member, and they're going to usually have about a dozen, on a tank or something like that. So you're talking several $1,000,000, and then the cargo, which could be millions of dollars. So is Trump going to do anything to Iran? I would go 99% nothing. Just blah, 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 blah. He might move more warships over there, but that means nothing to Iran because they know Trump's afraid. He's scared. He still hasn't attacked Venezuela. Now, how many times stronger is Iran than Venezuela? Oh, 35, 50 times? Okay. And he's still, he's got perhaps 15, 20 ships around Venezuela, and he's got even a big aircraft carrier there, and he has all kinds of aircraft in the region, submarines in the region, landing ships with expeditionary force marines in the region. And he's talking about attacking them. He may never attack them. He's going out and sinking drug boats. Somebody took it to the UN and is screaming genocide or something. I think it was South Africa or maybe Colombia. I don't know. That's a joke. Trump doesn't care about it. The UN can't take any action against Trump because he has permanent veto power. He'll veto it, and that's it. So for them to take action against Trump, they got to throw Trump out of the UN. I don't expect that anytime soon. All right. So the next step for Iran is simple. Grab another ship. Duh. Right? And they will. They've done them in the past. This is not the first time. Why do they want to do a blockade? Because they want to tell the world that you're messing with us. What did we do wrong? We have just as much of a right to go nuclear as you do. You've got a club and we're not in it, and you're not taking new members, so you're punishing us for doing what you do. He's right. They're right. Okay, so what's going to happen? Hang on a second. I got to do some spiritual warfare. We had some Weisenheimers we had to take care of, and they took care of. Okay, so you'll see more of this. We have no reason why this ship was grabbed, by the way. So Iran's got to dream up a reason, and it also was sending a message to the UAE. And their message is, if you're going to walk with Trump in Israel, this is what's going to happen. The UAE will fight. They usually fight with Saudi Arabia. They will fight. They're not afraid to fight. They don't have much to fight with. Iran would decimate them. What would happen with Iran missile attacking the UAE, which could easily do from Iran or from ships, but they don't need ships for that. They're close. All the malls, all the amusements parks there, like theme parks from Warner Brothers and Ferrari Land or World, and I think that's where they have that indoor ski slopes in the mall, and all of this stuff is going to go bite the dust. Okay, and nobody's going to want to go there and rebuild it. The hotels, they take buildings, they build them 100 or so floors high. They make the first 10 or 15 floors hotels. Then comes the buildings, and they man-made private islands, little things, and all that stuff's going to go down the tubes, But the UAE will manage off their, natural resources, which could get hit also, but they'll rebuild. Sometimes wars start just on little things like this. Really, it could start. I can assure you at this point, Trump's going to do nothing but blah 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 blah. Case in point, Hamas has never disarmed, and they said they're not going to. So Witkoff is going to Gaza to talk to Hamas. What's going to happen? I can call this, I think. Is all that's going to happen is Hamas is going to stand up to him or delays. likely delays. Well, we're not ready to do it. They're not going to listen to Witkoff. What are the chances of them listening to Witkoff and saying, "Oh, okay, Witkoff, you're right. We said we would disarm. We will." Zero. Okay, not 1%. I don't believe it'll ever happen. I call it a zero. They don't care if Trump takes 25 F-35s, F-22s, B-52s, B-1s, B-2s, and starts buzzing Gaza and telling them they're going to be annihilated. They won't. They won't disarm. Will Trump attack them? Never. He's scared to death of any war. He's eating a lot of tossed salad. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He's not going to go to war. Let me look at the live stream. He ain't going to war. You could forget him going to war. I don't even know if he'll ever actually go attack Venezuela. I think he's afraid to do that. You got to understand, when you go to war, you don't know what is going to happen. Okay? You don't know. Boy, this place is empty today. Am I reading just 7 people in here? That's the deadest I've seen it in ages. Oh, no, there's more people. It just wasn't updating. Okay, there it is. This time at night, it takes time for people to come in. Okay, so that's what we got going on over there. I'll cover some of the rest of the news with you. There's nothing really earth-shaking going on. Sweden. There was a bus ramming attack in Sweden that was bad. A double-decker bus, that's a big, heavy bus, right? 2 levels. Crashed into a bus stop shelter on Valnagolavagen in the Östermain district. Anyway, I don't know where it is. Stockholm, Sweden. The incident occurred around 3:23 p.m. in their time yesterday. At least 3 people were killed, at least 3, and 3 others injured. The bus was not in service, and there was no passengers on board when it occurred. So somebody stole the bus, or they worked there and they had access to the bus. Okay. The driver has been detained, and an investigation is underway. The case is being treated as involuntary manslaughter. Well, if it was a terrorist, that could be the charge. The cause of the crash is not clear at this time. It's all very new. It's less than 24 hours, and we really don't have any good data as to what happened. And as far as I know, they haven't released the guy's name. So we can't tell by his name who he is. But we could suspect, what. Because this driving a bus into innocent people waiting at a bus shelter to stay out of the rain is, we know who does that. Satan's chosen people. Are we going to know? Yeah, I don't know. I imagine sometime next week we'll know. Could they shift it over to terrorism? Yeah. We don't know yet what'll happen. We'll find out. Okay. Syrian television reported last night about a missile that hit a 3-story building in Mazar. It's in Damascus, Syria, where senior members of Hezbollah, the Revolutionary Guards, and the Islamic Jihad used to live. So it could have been Israeli fired a missile to go hit an apartment building of some target they had, or somebody in Israel did it, a revolutionary force. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Could have been Israeli special forces in Iran. I don't know. So Witkoff meeting with Gaza is idiotic. If Trump wanted any respect from Gaza, he just says to them, look, today's the 15th of the month. You have till the 30th to be disarmed. Okay, I'll wait till the 30th. But if I see no efforts from you at all, I may not wait till the 30th. I may strike on the 20th or the 18th or whatever. So there you have it, guys. But they know he's not going to strike. They'll just laugh at him. Trump says he's weighing Saudi Arabia's request to buy a good amount of F-35s. This is probably him telling Saudi, do an Abrahamic Accord with Israel and you'll get the jets, otherwise not. Why does Saudi want him? Well, they want him as really a threat against Yemen and Iran, not so much Israel, Yemen and Iran. And they got him. So the agriculture is going to have people reapply for the food stamps. The stamps of the funding probably happened already, unless Trump is going to withhold the funding until they reapply. But I did not hear that. I think they'll fund it, and maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Let me see if I can get some clarification on that real quick. The Department of Agriculture says food stamp recipients are going to need to reapply for the program. Period. Does this mean they have to reapply before they get their November payment? There is no information as to when the reapply happens, but because of judges telling Trump that he had to fund it, if the shutdown's over and Trump doesn't fund it, he's going to get more grief from the courts. So I would be pretty strong in believing that they're going to at least get their February and probably their December payments, and then they might not get a January payment if they don't reapply, something like that. I don't think Trump's going to pull the rug out from under them when we're coming on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I just don't think so. He's doing this. One of the things he wants to do is get the illegals that Biden was letting get on the program, get them off the program. They won't qualify, and also the other people that are, don't really belong on it. Like, they're just on it, and they're going to get rid of them. Russia came up with their own proposal to counter Trump's proposal to the UN Security Council, which is a joke, because Trump will veto it. Russia has presented its own draft. They try to save face because, they don't want to say Trump is virtually untouchable and the Americans are untouchable. So I'm going to keep watching this thing with Iran carefully. It can be a cause of great concern when they realize Trump won't do anything about it, which is what's going to happen, more very overwhelmingly high probability. They'll start blockading, and that's going to cause your oil prices to shoot up like crazy. Okay, we'll check gold and silver now. They made a good recovery, and then they dropped back a little bit. Gold was still over 4,000. Let's see what's cooking. Gold's at 4,080, and silver's at $50.47. Silver got up to $54 already. See, silver's performing well. And if Iran does the blockade, what we could probably expect to see is gold easily breaking 5,000, if not 6,000. And silver probably going to 75, maybe 80, something like that. If we start seeing gold go to 6,000, 65, then we'll see silver get to 90 or 100. You might see gold get to 10,000, and then silver could even be 150 or something. I don't know. The jewelry industry is getting cleaned out on this. I'm seeing advertisements that what they call luxury Swiss watches, which are made in China, we learned, are tanking, and they're selling the things for over half off or 35, 40%. They never used to give you deals like that. Now, what used to happen years ago when I was watching the watches, which would have been 20 years ago is when I probably stopped, is around Christmas and stuff, prices would go up because there was a demand for these and a limited amount of them. But remember, 23 years ago, they weren't really being made in China. Okay. And I used to buy, to a good extent, not entirely, a good extent, used watches that would usually be gold, and they were, they were automatic, and you didn't have that much difficulty. A few times I got watches that weren't they stopped, they broke down on me, they didn't keep good time and stuff, and I'd send them to the factory. And what I learned is if you had a gold watch with a gold bracelet and you sent it back to the factory for repairs, they would for free repair the watch. Different companies, Breitling would do it, IWC would do it, different companies, they would repair it for free, and they would also polish it up and clean the bracelet and spiff it up, change the seals and everything. And they do it for free. They were doing customer service, but it wasn't being done in China, it was being done where they are. So a lot of the watches were from the 90s and the 80s and stuff like that. And they were Swiss watches back then. The little old Swiss watchmaker would sit there with his glasses, and even at, when you're talking 2002, 2003, there was not that much going on with China. A little bit, but very little. It wasn't that much. And the gold watches were really never being made in China. Okay. Maybe some components, but I don't think those watches came from China. I don't think so. So they're in such bad shape right now. They're just selling them at very, very high prices. And you know what? They're not going to sell. And after Christmas, you'll start seeing them selling for 65%, 75% off. But the gold ones are outrageously expensive because they're not going to sell them without taking into account the price of gold. Now, 18 karat is what the watches usually are, which is 75% gold. So you're basically talking $3,000 an ounce. Now, a watch with just the case is probably going to be, depending on the watch, 2 or 3 ounces of gold. Because it's going to be the case, the bezel, the winder, the lugs, all that will be gold. The bottom of the case, And so you got to look at the price there. You're talking $12,000 just for the price of gold. Then comes the watch. So who wants to buy that? Nobody. Because if, let's say, it's 12,000, you're going to have to give them another 3,000 or 4,000 for the watch. You got $15,000, $18,000 at least. More, probably 20, 25. And if gold drops there, which it won't, the value of the watch drops, So mostly they're selling. Now, when you get into a gold watch with a gold bracelet, you could be talking 4 or 5 ounces all the way up to 8 ounces. So let's just say you're talking, 8 ounces, which is not rare. You got 6 ounces of gold. It's $24,000 in gold. So you got a $35,000 or $40,000 watch. People aren't buying these things. If they discount them out, they say, well, when we bought the gold, we only paid $9 an ounce. Let's discount it out. They could try that, but I haven't seen that happen yet, and I don't think we ever will. Be a first, and I don't think we'll see it. The stainless steel watches, that can be made in China, and they're dumping those too. See, the crazy thing is you can go to China and they'll sell you a really good watch that may not have all the polishing of the Swiss luxury watch, but a really nice good watch for $200 instead of 6,000. It's ridiculous. they're they're ridiculous with the watches. They really are. And they're finished. The jewelry business is finished. Who's going to buy? I mean, if you're in a household where your income is $12 million a year, oh, you want to go out and buy a gold necklace with 4 ounces of gold and a bunch of diamonds. You don't care. You'll do it. But a lot of people that will go out and buy a necklace with 4 ounces of gold and put 1 diamond in it and some kind of clasp that hangs on it, maybe a carat or 2 carats, is going to have a problem because you're talking, $16,000 in gold. Well, it's 18 carats, a little less. But then comes the workmanship, and then comes the diamond, and those things were popular when gold was 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 an ounce. People would buy stuff like that. They're not buying it now. People used to buy $20 gold pieces. This is in the late 90s. It was in fashion. And actually, it started in the 70s, in the late 70s. People started buying gold in America. You probably don't know about that. But gold was very cheap back then, probably 150 an ounce or something, 200, something like that. So if you were going to buy a necklace with 4 ounces of gold, you're talking $800 for the gold. It was no big deal. And they would buy a 1 ounce gold coin, the round coin, and put it in a 18 karat gold holder and attach it, and they would wear it. That was common to see that. It really was. And the other kind of thing they would do is they had this $50 Mexican gold piece that was much heavier than an ounce. I can't remember what it was. It had 8 sides on it, I think, or 6 sides, octagonal, I think it was. That was even bigger and heavier, and people would buy that and put it in there. People used to not have a clasp on the necklace, so they had these big gold necklaces. They had the jeweler weld it together, so they would get it big enough to fit over their neck. They probably needed at least 16, maybe 17, 18 inches, 20 even. So it would fit over their head on their neck. So a lot of times somebody would see them with it, and they would drop behind them and then run up on them and pull it, grab it and pull it while they're walking, grab it from behind and yank it. And it would break the clasp. They'd have it, and they'd outrun the person. And they made a good score. But when it didn't have the clasp, they would pull it, and they'd hurt the person, is all that would happen, and they wouldn't get anything, and they'd just run away. So, that was going. Now, the diamond market also got killed because they have synthetic diamonds that come up as diamonds on a diamond tester. They come up as diamonds in a microscope. They come up in diamonds with every test. They're not detectable as artificial diamonds. So what the people do is they put a little laser etching in the stone that you need like a 10 power loop to see, and then it's a synthetic man-made diamond. However, the Chinese buy these machines and sell them to make it. So how many people do you think? I mean, in America, you could buy the machines, set them up in a warehouse or set them up in your office and make the diamonds, right? Not laser etch them. There's no law that says you have to do it. and then have a jeweler set it in a gold ring or something like that, and sell it. And you're not going to get any blowback from it because it's not going to test as as a man-made diamond. The machines are $50,000, $75,000. It takes a few weeks to grow diamonds in them. So, you could make yourself, you need to know how to set jewelry. If you go to try to sell the stones raw, people will get scared. But if you set the thing in gold, then you could probably make rings and sell them and stuff like that, and people would buy it. I don't know how much of that is going on, but I tell you, diamonds are a stone cold bad investment. They've been doing it now. If you make a perfectly flawless diamond, completely flawless, it'll raise flags because there's only so many of those. So you got to try to get the thing to get inclusions. Now it's not that easy. When you get the diamond out of the machine, it doesn't look like what you see in the jewelry store. You got to take it and bring it to a cutter, and you got to get it cut, and then you got to get it polished, then you got to bring it to a setter and have it set. Okay, so you got a full run, right? And that's what people do, I'm sure. And they don't want to talk about it. And the diamond industry keeps on, you look at them on YouTube and they keep talking about why you don't want to buy a synthetic diamond. Yeah, well, I'm telling you why you don't want to buy a natural diamond. It will waste of money. There's no difference. Why do you want to buy the natural diamond? Because De Beers family tells you to buy them. They probably have 40-foot containers, that you ship with. They probably have 2 or 3 of those full of diamonds. They have more diamonds than they know what to do with, probably. It's stupid. These jewelers, the jewelry store people, are crooks. They're not legally classified as crooks, but they're greedy, lousy merchants. And it's an inner circle where you rip off the people to buy jewelry. That's all it is. It's a ripoff. That's it. Like the luxury watches. It's a ripoff. It's just a ripoff. So the whole diamond thing is shot. Then you got the rubies and the sapphires, where they've been making synthetics for decades. And you can't tell the difference with those. You got to buy some that are flawed. So the whole thing is falling apart. It's absolutely just going down, And the jewelry stores really have been so evil to the people for hundreds of years. It's just sad what they've done. When I was even a teenager and a young guy, people would buy um, sets of silverware. Would come in a wood box, beautiful polished wood box, red wood or some gorgeous wood with felt lining in different compartments for the knife, the fork, the spoons. And it was real silver, solid silver. Because silver was $4, $3, $6, $7 an ounce. So it was really affordable and people would buy it. And then when you use the silver, you put it in your box, right? And then when you wanted to take it out and use it, let's say it was sitting in the box, you got to rinse it off or something or wash it. So you'd have to run it through the dishwasher to get it, clean because of the dust and all that, or rinse it in the sink, with dish soap or something, and then wipe it down to dry it. and then serve it. And then after you serve it, you've got to, to take good care of it. You really should clean it and then polish it a little bit with a cloth, and then clean it and run it through the dishwasher before you give it to people. You don't have to run it through a heavy cycle of the dishwasher, just a rinse or something, or a heavy cycle. But people bought this stuff all the time. It was so cheap. They used to make at flea markets, and what they would call is a spoon ring. They would take this stalk of the silverware, not the spoon or the fork part, and they would just bend it over and make a ring out of it. It was a solid silver ring. Kids used to buy those in the 60s. It was considered cool, and it didn't cost anything, $2, $3. Silver was always very, very dirt cheap. Silver ID bracelets, like in 1960, 65, were like $5. Big, heavy silver, and the store would put your name on it. Would have a piece like this, and they would solid silver. They'd write your name on it or whatever. They were very common, very cheap, you know. And the girls used to get ankle bracelets made out of usually 14 karat gold. A thin bracelet with a little shape, usually like a heart on it, and it would say something, and they'd wear it on their ankle. They were pretty cheap. They had maybe a quarter ounce of gold in it, or a third of an ounce, and they weren't very expensive. And they'd have thin necklaces, and some guys would have 14 karat bracelets, and it got very. They were buying these big, thick chains. What the heck were they called? I forgot. And they had different names for them, and they would buy them out of 18. Well, usually you would be smarter to buy it in 14. Sometimes they had 18 karat, because 14 was more durable, and the links would rub against each other. So 14 would be your better move. And they would spend, $1,500, $1,800, big thick amount of gold. But you're talking, 8 ounces or 7 ounces of gold. Well, gold was cheap. And they buy these big honking, things. Now, if they got it today, that thing they bought for 1,500, you could, would be worth, maybe 24,000 or something, or tremendous profit. You know, but nobody's going to buy it as a necklace, because who wants to buy it? It's too expensive. So what you do is you sell it as scrap gold, but you're still getting your cut. Now, you could go to a gold dealer that sells gold coins and stuff, and he might buy uh, the necklace, because it might sell to somebody that wants to invest in many ounces of gold. They might buy that. What he'll do is test your gold. He'll take maybe one of your pieces of the necklace and actually cut into it to test it, and cut it with acid or something. It might do that, or he might find another way, but he can't really measure it and weigh it and come up with, like he could with a coin. So they got to take a look at it, and that's kind of what they'll do. So the gold is not, you know, it's pricing itself out of the jewelry market. Now, when gold will go to 7,500 or 10,000, I believe, when the wars start, then, you know, nobody's going to be able to sell gold jewelry. Who's going to buy it? I mean, a gold ring that, has it could have an ounce of gold. You're talking 7,500 in the gold alone. It's crazy. The jewelry business is going to be dead. What kind of jewelry business are you going to have if people are buying stainless steel jewelry, which will happen? Which will happen. Now they have ways of coating stainless steel, and sometimes they use sterling silver, but I doubt they're using a lot of sterling silver at $50 an ounce, but they might still use it. There's different processes, and it looks rather like gold, but not to the trained eye. And in a dark light like this, it'll look like gold to people across a room or something. But if you're outside on a sunny day in the beach or a park and you got it in good light, natural sunlight, and you know what you're looking at, you're going to know it's not real gold. The other thing is the weight is not anywhere near. Real gold is heavy, very heavy. And a solid gold watch with a gold bracelet weighs a ton more than a stainless steel watch, double or something. You could tell very easily. And platinum is even heavier. But don't buy platinum, don't buy palladium, none of that. Just gold, just silver, that's it. Don't go for the other ones. They're too weird. So now they're making jade synthetically. I always wanted a piece of that jade that the Chinese people would get. It was like jade, like you poured heavy cream in it and diluted the green, something like that, right? Beautiful colors, and they would put the stone in there. And I used to see it. I lived in San Francisco many years. A lot of them would do it. And they're very expensive, and you don't have much jade, a small piece of jade in a ring, and they would put it in a 22 or a 24 karat gold ring to make it a very yellow gold, a beautiful gold. But you got to understand, when you're into 22 or 24 karat gold, it's very soft. But they do it anyway. And now they can grow this, it's called imperial jade. They can grow imperial jade in machines artificially, and it's just starting to take off. So, if you wanted to get a good sized man's ring and put a piece of that jade in it, a substantial piece, you might have to pay 100 or 300,000 or 500,000. They even sell jade for millions, because it has this beautiful color and texture. But you'll be able to buy it synthetically. I don't know, maybe in the beginning they'll sell it for $6, $8, $900, 1,000. But when it gets going, it'll be selling for 2 or 300. Will it really be jade? Yes. It'll be jade. It'll be real jade, just like the natural jade. There's a thing called moissanite. I still have some stuff made out of moissanite. I bought 25 years ago, maybe 27 years ago. Moissanite was a little bit costly back then. Some of the stuff I bought, I paid like 1,500 for the stone, and I sold that stuff though. I had it and then I sold it, and of course we mounted in gold because gold was 200 an ounce, 180. It was, you put them in gold. The gold wasn't very expensive at all. The jeweler had a catalog, big thick book. This was a guy I was friendly with, and you pick your ring out of the book. I mean, they had hundreds of rings, anything you could really imagine. And you could get it in white gold or yellow gold. You could get 14 karat, mostly 14 karat. Rings don't lend themselves well to more than 14 karat. 10 karat doesn't look like gold too much anymore. It looks like bronze or brass or something. 14 looks like gold. 18 looks a lot better, but it's softer. And the jeweler didn't want to use 18. He kept arguing with me. You don't want to do it. It's a mistake. Don't do it. Don't do it. When you're talking, let's say, white gold, there's no difference between 14 karat white gold and 18 karat white gold or 22 karat white. It's all going to look the same. And a lot of people buy white gold because they don't want to, they live in New York or Chicago or someplace. They don't want to get on the subway with gold, so they use white gold. But, anyway. Moissanite, if you put it in a microscope or a loop, it looks like a flawless diamond. Okay? The people that made moissanite sold moissanite detectors because people were selling, when they first came out with it, people were selling the diamonds to jewelry stores. So they go in a jewelry store, they had a 2-carat moissanite, and as a real diamond, it probably had a street value of, a real value of, let's say, $50,000. It was a very high grade stone, right? So the jeweler would rip them off and give them 15,000, and the guy paid a few $100 for it. So the jewelry stores were getting killed. So they made a moissanite detector, and then the jewelers and the pawn shops and them had to buy this to stay in the diamond business. So they made a fortune on the detectors. Cute. They knew what kind of bums the jewelry stores are. So they made these with a green tint and a yellow tint, which is a very expensive diamond when the natural has that tint, right? And now what they do is they take little pieces of moissanite and they embed it in a big chain, right? Let's say a guy's a rapper or he's in a gang, a cartel. So yeah, they give him a really big chain. I got a big one on here. I bought it when it was silver was $4 an ounce when I bought this stuff, and I put the Shema in here. That's why I wear it. It has the Shema, Yisrael, the oil handle, the oil pot. I have it in here in Hebrew. So I had this thing. So anyway, what they're doing now is they're taking little chips of moissanite and they're putting them in the chain, all on they usually just put it on the outer layer of the chain and on the sides, big thick links, right? And they'll add, some of these will have 4, 5, 6, 7 carats total weight of moissanite, which doesn't cost anything. So instead of putting it in real gold, which is going to cost the guy maybe, $30,000 in gold, to get a big thick chain, they put it in maybe sterling silver, which is a high grade metal. It doesn't corrode. I wash this thing and my hands gets wet every day a few times. I take showers with it. Nothing happens. It gets scratched like crazy. But if I sit there with a jeweler's cloth and I just sit there for a long time, I can polish it back up. But I don't bother. And they don't corrode, So they get so it's not going to turn green or anything, like a base metal would, right? So they'll coat it with this gold, I think it's called IPT. They have 2 processes where they really coat it well. But the people won't know that it's a phony gold because they got these little tiny moissanite chips all over the thing, and the light on the stage bounces off it so much you can't really see the underlying gold. Now, I guess some of the rich ones will go out and get it in real gold, Or what they could do is they could also get it in sterling silver and put a platinum coat on it, a shiny platinum. Platinum's heavy and usually dull, but you could get it polished up, and stuff like that. So if you really wanted to do it right, what you do is you get yourself grade 5 titanium, which doesn't cost anywhere near gold or anything. I mean, people make knives. I have a pair of shears that tin snips, right? big, heavy things. They're about, 6, 8 inches long. If I threw it at a car windshield, it'd break the car windshield. I don't know what they cost, $15. I mean, it has to be grade 5 because it cuts. You can't work with grade, when you see things, they say titanium, like jewelry or something like that. Usually it's grade 2, which is actually weaker and softer than stainless steel, than a good stainless steel like 316L or something. But the titanium is super strong. It's 3 or 4 times stronger than stainless steel. So you get that titanium, which is a dark color, and you can probably coat that with something, and it would be lighter and super strong, and it wouldn't wear out, and it wouldn't corrode. But I don't think they make it. They use stainless steel. So the moissanite looks dead on like a diamond. And with little chips, how are you going to tell? It's too small. You put your loop on it, you're not going to get there. I suppose if you stick it under a microscope, maybe you'd get there, but maybe not. And you're not going to get the light on it correctly because it's embedded in the bracelet. So they're making these things out of moissanite. I've even seen them. They take a cheap Casio, like a $50 or Casio watch, and they put a a piece on it with all this moissanite in it that makes the thing look like that. I guess the rappers do that. And they're taking imitation. I guess they get this in China. Imitation Patek Philippe's and Rolexes and but not good ones, cheap junkers. And they're putting the little chips of moissanite all over it and selling that. But the rappers are not buying, from what I understand, they're not buying the solid gold chains anymore. They're getting the coated and putting the moissanite in it. Because when they're up on the stage, that moissanite is glittering and glowing, and you could even get cute. You could have, probably, if you look for it, you could get chips of yellow or green moissanite as well. That would look really stunning in a gold thing. So I mean, the whole jewelry industry is kaput. You know, uh, the jewelers did it to themselves. They're just a bunch of crooks. You know, just a bunch of crooks. You know. Their idea is to get something like a jade necklace that costs them $69 and sell it to you for $600. That's how they like to work. They're very bad people. And they think they're good businessmen. They're not. They're a bunch of bums. They're not. Okay. Um, let's see. I've got some prayer requests that need to get done. That's important. Let's go through that. Um, for JM, Juliet, Mike, JM, Juliet, Mike, JM, healing. Healing for JM, Juliet, Mike. Oh, I'll pray and we can agree. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for JM for healing. My Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with me. That is about an elderly woman that's not wanting to eat. Old people get like that sometimes. I don't quite know why, but next. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for RM, Romeo, Mike, and LM, Lima, Mike, for strength and in helping their elderly mother. So the idea here is RM, Romeo Mike, and LM, Lima Mike, that Father God Jehovah would give them strength in helping take care of their elderly mother. So I pray that to you, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree. The mother's in a home. Okay. So we got that. And now we have RG, Romeo Golf. RG, Romeo Golf. I'll pray for this and you can agree. So my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for RG, Romeo Golf, for healing from a leaky valve in the heart. So healing for the heart, leaky valve, my Heavenly Father, I pray for RG, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree. Usually the remedy for that is, I believe, to take a pig valve from a pig heart and do an open heart surgery and switch it out. And these pig valves usually go 10 years and then they don't work anymore. Okay, next. Apparently we have a different kind of RG, or maybe it's the same RG, I don't know. But Romeo Golf, my Heavenly Father, I don't know if it's the same or different RG, but I pray you would know. I pray for RG, Romeo Golf, to be healed from, to not to have shingles is the word I was given. So RG, not to have shingles. That's the prayer request. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree. Okay. Sometimes we don't get the whole story or we don't understand the whole story, so I use the words that people provided and they know the whole story, so I do it that way. Okay. Let me delete this. All right. So let me look at the live stream and then we'll go into Daniel chapter 11. Let's take a look at the live stream. All right, I'll go into Daniel 11. Now, Daniel 11 is an interesting book, and some of it we're not going to be able to place because it goes back through time, as you'll see. Okay, we'll start in verse 1. Also, I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. So this is Daniel with Darius the leader. That's how he was setting the chronology on this. And now will I show the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength through his riches he shall stir up against the realm of Grecia. So this is him saying in the future they're going to fight. Now, these things probably already happened, but they're going to be very difficult to identify, and I'll point out why. And a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided towards the four winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, his children, nor according to his dominion, which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside those. See, now you can probably go back through history and people will tell you they identified it, but they're just guessing. They're thinking this is likely what it is, but they're not sure. And the king of the south, that could be Arabia or called Saudi Arabia, it could be Yemen, I don't know. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. And in the end of years, now this is interesting. Now let's check the word for years. Shana. We better check that in the Hebrew. Daniel 11:6. I don't trust the English. Daniel 11:6. 3, 4, 5, 6. It says years. It doesn't say Shanat. It says Shanim. So it's correctly translated, but that means years, plural. Shana is singular, and Shanim, Shani, is the plural. The plural. The I am usually means plural. Okay, so we're at 6. Yeah. And in the end of years, they shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement, but she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begot her, and he that strengthened her in these times. I can't identify this. I'll pray. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray you open these things up to us if you feel it's the right time for it. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that if you're a true believer. Now we're in verse 7. Oh, it gets better later on. Just wait. This is the stuff that is very hard to identify. But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate, which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail. Who is the king of the north? Is it Turkey? Is it Iran? Is it Iraq? I don't know. Probably not Iraq. And shall also carry captives into Egypt, So he's bringing captives into Egypt. What's up with that? Their gods with their princes and with their precious vessels of silver and of gold, and he shall continue more years than the king of the north. So you see, when you say king of the north, king of the south, I don't know what country it is by today's country names. Probably Iraq and Jordan would not count. So the south would be, I'd give you two choices: Saudi Arabia, or Yemen, and the north, I don't know, Turkey, Iran, I guess. Lebanon, maybe, because it goes up high. I don't know. Probably not Lebanon. But anyway, let's keep going. But his sons shall be stirred up, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through. Then shall he return and be stirred up even to his fortress. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north, and shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. Well, your candidates are Yemen, which is Edom, or Saudi Arabia, probably Saudi Arabia for the south. And when he hath taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000s, but he shall not be strengthened by it. For the king of the north shall return, and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after certain years with a great army and with much riches. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south. Also the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves. So who robbed his people? The Babylonians. Shall exalt themselves to establish division, but they shall fall. So I don't know what vision, who this, I'm not sure I know that one. But wait, gets better at the end. So the king of the north shall come and cast up a mount, and take the most fenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand neither his chosen people. Let's check the words here. Yeah. Choice, chosen people. Okay. Neither shall there be any strength to withstand. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land which by his hand shall he consume. Well, let's check glorious land. It's Eretz, land, and glorious. Beautiful. Probably Israel, but I wouldn't give you a written guarantee, but probably Israel. Not the Israel that we've seen since 1948. Okay. He shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Thus shall he do, and he shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither be for him. After this shall he turn his face unto the isles. What are the isles? I don't know. I mean, North and South America could be considered the isles, the Caribbean, Cyprus, I don't know. But a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease without his own reproach, he shall cause to turn. Then he shall turn his face towards the fort on his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes. Well, I for a time would say, well, Trump and the tariffs, but it's not a really good fit. No. By the glory of the kingdom, but within few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. And now I'm in verse 21, and in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flattery. The beast, let's see, and with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. Well, now we're looking at Daniel 9:26 or something. The anointed prince. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong. '24. He shall enter peaceably, even upon the fattest places of the province. Now, it doesn't sound like Israel being described, but maybe, I don't know. And he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his father's fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey, and spoil and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. Now, if he did something that his fathers didn't do, it would likely be worship demons or something. It could be. Okay, now what we got to do is cover these words forecast and devices. Okay, forecast is 2803, and that's the Strong's number in the Hebrew. And let's see how Strong's puts it into English because it's interesting. Properly to plate, Plait, or inter what? Interpenetrate? Interpenetrate? That is literally to weave, like weave a fabric or fabricate, figuratively to plot or contrive. Okay, so to weave, fabricate, plot. All right, so forecast, to weave or plot, and then devices is 4284, and it's not such a shocking word. Let's get to it. Strong's puts it as contrivance that is concretely a texture, a machine. Okay, so it's probably a modern war weapon that he referred to as a device. Okay? Could be aircraft, missiles, things like that. Okay? That's my take on that. Hey, honey, it's raining.
I'm aware, thank you.
Okay. Shall forecast his devices against the strongholds even for a time. Okay. And he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army, and the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army, but he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices. They're going to use stuff against him. Yea, they that feed of the portion of his meat, so they're eating his food or something, shall destroy him and his army. So that could be those that took the mark to buy and sell, right? Feed of the portion of his meat, okay. Shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, evil, bad stuff, mischief, bad stuff. Dennis the Menace didn't do good deeds, he did bad things. Mischief, right, like that. Do mischief, and they shall speak lies at the one table, but it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed. And this is hard. Let's do it again. verse 27. And both these kings' hearts shall be to do evil, bad things, and they shall speak lies. Well, that's typical. At one table. So they're going to sit down together and lie to each other. But it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed. Okay, so it's going to keep continuing. Now we're in verse 28. Then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant. So it sounds like he was looting Israel, and he's against the holy covenant, and he shall do, it says exploits, but that's added in, he shall do and return to his own land. Now the words for shall do is 62:13 Strong's. And I don't think there's anything special about this. It's to do. Let's see what Strong's does with the word. Accomplish, advance, appoint, become, bestow. To do, I guess, is an immature way of doing it, but it works. Now I'm in 29. At the time appointed, he shall return, and it's coming and going. I think it's the beast, and come towards the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. For the ships of Shittim shall come against him. Could be Cyprus or something, I don't know. Mediterranean islands is usually Shittim. Shall come against him, therefore he shall be grieved, and return and have indignation, anger against the holy covenant, that's us. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. Those are the evil ones. Okay. We could check the words for covenant. Breach. Yeah, correct. And the holy word is Kadosh. Yep, good works. Holy covenant. Perfect translation. Okay. Now we're in 31. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength. So that's the temple, and the word pollute is kalal, and we need to research what that really means in English. And we'll go to Strong's, and it says to wound, to dissolve, figuratively, not literally, to profane. That's really what this is about. It profanes the temple. It makes it like unclean. Okay. And shall take away the daily sacrifice. You see, now the glory of God of Israel left the temple, as we talked about yesterday in Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11, combined with Zechariah 14. the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. Now, we talked about that. That was in the northern gate between the inner and outer courtyards of the next temple, called Ezekiel's temple. And that caused the glory of God of Israel to leave the temple. Is this the beast statue that talks and all that? No, that takes place not in Jerusalem. That takes place in Cyprus. We covered that yesterday. And such, I'll touch on that again today. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. And you read this in Ezekiel 8. They're turning their back to the temple and worshiping the sun god and putting, painting or drawing idols on the temple and stuff like that. Okay. But the people that do, okay, let's go back again and read this as verse 32. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall be corrupt by flattery. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do, and then they add the word exploits. It's not in it. That's because the Lord in Ezekiel 9 puts a mark on their forehead, which is probably his signature or his name, and nothing bad happens to them. Okay, that's to the ones that are upset at all the injustices done in the temple. And you've got to read not just Ezekiel 38, 39, not just the book of Joel, but Ezekiel 8 to 11 and Zechariah 14. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword. Now, let's break the words down because they're messing with you here. Okay, so it says instruct many. Let's check the word for many. Yeah, much, many. Okay, same thing. Yet they shall fall. 4 words from one Hebrew word, which means to stumble or stagger or totter. Okay, it doesn't really, stumble around is not exactly fall. Let's see what Strong's does with this. Decayed, fail, stumble. Okay, all right. Fall means it's all over. It's not exactly that word. So, they that understand among the people, that's the Israelites, shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame and by captivity and by spoil. Okay. Is this the people that are doing the instructing? I think so. Verse 34. Now when they shall fall, they shall be holpen with a little help, but many shall. So you see, they're not really getting completely destroyed, but some, I guess, do. Shall fall, they shall be holpen with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. They're going to be in a bad way. And some of them of understanding shall fall to try them and to purge and to make white even to the time of the end, because it is yet for times appointed. So they might. Course, because it is yet for a time appointed, and the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he okay. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and with precious stones and pleasant things. Now they'll tell you, oh, that's because he was Jewish. Doesn't say that. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the hand for gain. For gain. So, it doesn't sound like the beast himself, because the beast is like the strange God honoring Satan. So it's very hard to open this up, but it does sound a lot like the beast too. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south. Now, it might be one of those kings that are serving the beast. This might be all this is. Okay, and the beast may be in his temple in Cyprus. That can be the case too. And the fact that he's serving the beast, he could have Muslim parents and grandparents, and they weren't serving the beast, they were serving Satan, but they didn't know it, so. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom, Moab, and chief of the children of Ammon. Well, I think these countries are about to go any time now. You see how hard this is? So when we get, down 70 years to Gog and Magog, I'm rather certain that, you know, uh, you know, these, Edom and Moab and Ammon are going to be gone. So this could have happened already. See what I'm saying? He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, the land of Egypt, and Egypt shall not escape. Well, Egypt goes into a diaspora very shortly because they're running away from us. So I'm getting confusion here. He shall have power over the treasures of gold and of the silver and over all the precious things of Egypt. The Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. See, when we get into redemption, the land will come back to us. All the pieces of the land from, the Euphrates to the Nile. But tiding out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas. See, the Rome did this. I've been in their mansions around Israel. I imagine they had one or two around here. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Now, that could be the beast who gets thrown into the lake of fire alive, along with the false prophet, but we're not hearing about the false prophet. We're not hearing about the talking statue. We're not hearing about taking the mark to buy and sell. See, this might not be him at all. It could be something that just already happened, maybe quite a while ago. You understanding me? So Daniel is a sealed book still, to some extent. I don't see it really meeting the test of the, the beast. It doesn't seem to me to be a good lineup. Now let's go to Daniel 12 and see if this helps. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Now this is sounding to me like redemption. Now, Michael's standing up. What does that mean? Well, we don't know. It could mean many things. It could mean he's standing on the Mount of Olives and splits it open and kills them in Gog and Magog. It can mean in Malachi 3 he comes suddenly to his temple. Let's keep reading. Verse 2. And many of them shall, Michael, glory of God of Israel, is what I'm talking about. It's the same. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. So what is this? How do we time this? The dry bones could fulfill this at the time Michael rises up, yes, redemption. But it says many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. It doesn't say everybody's going to awake in this portion, so it could mean the dry bones. And then it says some to everlasting life. Well, now it's taking us to the redemption. When they come out from the dry bones, they're going to be like us and have everlasting life. And then it says, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Well, that would be the bad ones. But it doesn't really tell us they're coming to the earth either. So let's keep reading. So it's a hard one to decipher, but I think I just did it. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament. Arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. See? Michael, the glory of the Lord. Okay. That's Isaiah 60, verse 1. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Well, we're almost there. We're not quite there yet, but we're close anyway. Maybe it is considered the time of the end, or maybe the time of the end is more like, I think it's now, because I think he's talking about the end of the age. Because when you get to the end of Gog and Magog, it's in the same age as you will be when you get redemption. So, it's probably speaking about now-ish. Many shall run to and fro. Let's check the word for run. Okay, so what we got here is we got one Hebrew word for 1, 2, 3, for 5. We got 5 English words for one Hebrew word. Let's get to the bottom of this. It's shoot. To go or move about. It could probably mean modern transportation, cars, airplanes. Okay. Shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Knowledge. Let's check that word. We'll go to strong. Cunning, knowledge, awareness. So, it can mean a lot of things, right? And it says increased. Let's take a look at that. Never trust the English. The word for increased is increased. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood an other two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, probably the Euphrates, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall it be to the end of these wonders? Not the end of the age, these wonders. And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river. Now, who do you know walks on water? Yeshua. Who are the other 2 men? Well, Troy, Elijah, and Enoch. It doesn't say that's them, but that's my take, my guess. When he held the 2 witnesses, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swore by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times and a half. Now, I told you this is not it's not talking about, 1260 or 3.5 years. The first time, it's about captivity. The first time was Egypt. The second time was Babylon. The third time was Rome in 70 AD. And the half a time is found in Zechariah 14, when half of Jerusalem goes into captivity. And that happens in the Gog and Magog time, Ezekiel 38, 39. Okay? The rest of the people stay in Jerusalem because they have the mark, or the Lord's name, Jehovah's name, in their forehead that the angel puts there. These are the scriptures You find this in Ezekiel 8 to 11, specifically with the mark in Ezekiel number 9, chapter 9. And the church never teaches any of this. Okay. When he shall accomplish to scatter the power of the holy people. So let's go back again. And swore by him that liveth forever that it shall be for a time, times and a half. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. That's when the whole book of Joel is over, the Gog and Magog. When Yeshua returns to earth, I would say, and the beast and the false prophet get flipped into the pit. Oh no, they go into the lake of fire. Sorry, they go into the lake of fire. I would guess that's when the book of Daniel is finished. It doesn't deal with New Jerusalem and things like that, not the book of Daniel. And I heard, but I understood not. Then said I, Lo, my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. Many shall be purified and made white and tested, but the wicked shall go wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. So don't expect them to come out of it too much, you know. And from the time that the daily sacrifice be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days, 1290, not 1260. So it doesn't make sense with their, time times half, and that doesn't make sense. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305:30. So that's 1,335 days. It doesn't fit in with their theories either. But go thou thy way. Go thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and stand in thy lot at the end of the days. Okay, so he's telling Daniel he's going to be in good shape eternally. Okay, so there's another set of scriptures we should touch on in Daniel 7. Now, I'm telling you, this stuff is still sealed, and the church world is acting like it's not, and they know everything. Well, I don't think they do. Okay, Daniel 7:25, I believe it is. Or 24, maybe. Let's see. Well, we'll go to 24, Daniel 7:24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom, we read about that in Revelation 17. Out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them. And he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and he shall wear out the saints of the Most High. That's different than getting killed, isn't it? It's not the same thing as getting killed. Wear out, that's what he does to us. But we do it back to him, don't we? Of the Most High. And think binding and loosing and demon tossing. We'll wear those jerks out too. Or minimally distract them and diffuse their efforts all over the place so they can't be effective. They're not gods, you know. And so it says the Most High, and think to change times and laws. Well, they have done that through their churches. They made the year 365 days instead of 360. They don't observe the Shabbat. They moved it to Sunday, which you can't do because the Shabbat is to honor the day that Jehovah rested after he made the creation, and that day can never change. So you cannot move the Sabbath. There's never any command given for that or anything like that. They just made that up on their own. And shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. They say the law's dead, done away with, but then they say don't fornicate, don't drink, don't shoot heroin, don't do that. You know, they make stuff up, right? They have denominations, which is forbidden. They have different doctrinal statements, which is forbidden. Okay. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times, and the dividing of time is a half a time. Again, so Satan given into his hand, what does that mean? Does it mean Satan kills us? No, we get weary. Why? Satan is the God of this age. The age ends when Yeshua appears in the clouds, which is 70 years before he returns to earth. And that, I've covered that. If I keep going back and covering all these things, guys, read or watch the day before this video, the one I did just before, and you'll get a lot of insight into these things. So, so we're in his hands, so to speak, because he runs the nations. So let's check that word for hand. It says yad, which means hand, but it says into his hand. The word into his is not there. It says given hand. Yeah, it means given to his hand. Until a time and times and a dividing of time. So when you see the Gog and Magog thing, the half of Jerusalem go into captivity, that's the end of the book of Daniel. Okay. Not necessarily the end of the age, the end of the book of Daniel. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. Well, we're already taking away Satan's dominion with the binding and the loosing. It's beginning, right? The keys to the kingdom. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and dominions shall serve and obey him. So it's saying the kingdom and dominion, that's the ruling of it. You know, we're given the keys to the kingdom. That's the dominion. The word for dominion is 7985, Sultan. Let's check the real meaning in Strong's. empire, dominion. Okay, when you get the keys to the kingdom, you got the dominion, don't you? Sure you do. Control. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole. Well, we're getting there. We're starting already, you see. Right? Okay. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cognition, my cogitations much troubled me, my thoughts, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. He kept the matter close to himself, and that's what's, so, I don't have all the answers because it's not yet the time, but at least we know this, Um, and the church doesn't, they say that when Yeshua said the abomination of desolation set up, when he says that means he opened up the book of Daniel. That's such poppycock nonsense. It's unbelievable. Manure makes the flowers grow and the churches make them overflow. Okay, let's see what's going on in the live stream. If I have any questions, whoops. Try to get this back. There we go. No, I don't see questions. So I hope you were able to get something out of this, and we'll keep digging in this and keep talking more about end times. And Daniel's not all that super, fragilistic because it's still sealed, But we'll keep going it through end times again. I'll try to do something every day. So we're going to watch Iran because this could be the time that Elam, which is Iran and Iraq, I believe, maybe a little Syria is going to get destroyed if Iran's going to start playing games. We'll have to see. So remember me with offerings, guys. It's rough here for us. The prices are so high and everything. This is my work life. I'm rather old, and it takes me about 6-7 hours to get to where I prepare for the broadcast and do the broadcast, and then I spend probably another hour and a half, 2 hours even, updating the telegram during the day and night. So this is all I can do. That wipes me out. I don't have the strength and stamina that I did 40 years ago where, I can't do anything else. So, since the offerings have been so bad consistently for 10 years, but they've been worse now, I've been asking the people to pray that the Lord finds me another source of money other than offerings. And what that is, I don't know. But getting the people to give offerings is like beating a dead horse. 80-90% will not do it. And it's pointless to keep trying. So I just ask you to pray that the Lord find another way, another source of funds for me. This is rough here. It's very hard. Like, we're not going to buy firewood this year. It's too much money. Stuff like that, it's hard. Okay, so appreciate those prayers. So you could also pray for more offerings, but it's very hard to see that coming together. All right, and I do greatly appreciate the people that give the offerings, and I by no means am saying this to mean I'm going to stop doing the broadcast. That's not at all where I'm going, and the Lord hasn't told me to stop doing the broadcast. But just to sit here and keep asking for offerings, I've done it for years. It doesn't really go anywhere. So I'm thinking try a different approach. Maybe I should have done that years ago. I don't know. Maybe I can do something on the side. I don't know. I don't know. All right. So I'm going to put a prayer out, and you guys can agree with it, and we'll go from there. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers and their households. I pray we all have strength, stamina, and endurance today and tonight, and we be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole, and our pets and animals the same. And I pray your healing and recuperative power flow through us and we keep getting healed. And I pray we have no accidents, no tickets, no breakdowns with any car, vehicle, or transportation, no getting stopped or stranded, or having any trouble traveling with hotels, motels, losing things getting stolen, broken, anything bad happening to us, and so forth. I pray we learn and know the scriptures better. I pray that we all have abundant finances where we have an abundance. I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray for your spirit to be poured out on us and we can walk in your shalom and your peace and have rest and calm and joy. I pray you lift off of us all the problems that come about from the devil and the people that serve the unclean spirits. Just remove these problems from us so we don't have to sit there and waste our time dealing with these idiots unless you want us to as a test or a trial, and then we will, and just help us with that. And I pray you help us understand better your communications with us. And I pray that we don't accept or receive any communications from unclean spirits or people that serve unclean spirits. And we don't get any dreams or visions from unclean spirits or people that serve unclean spirits. We don't get any darts of the enemy or any thoughts, ideas, or notions from unclean spirits or people that serve unclean spirits. And I pray that we sleep well. We all get abundant, good amount of sleep that's sweet, and wake up at a good hour. And we don't keep ourselves up with worrying or fretting or excitement. And the unclean spirits don't get to keep us up with the people that serve them either. I pray you would cancel and make null and void any witchcraft, sorcery, curses, hexes, vexes, spells, enchantments, aimed, directed at targeting any of the true believers in their households. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and since it's still Shabbat, I send my Shabbat Shalom to all you guys that are walking with Father God, Jehovah, and Yeshua, and I hope you got something out of this, and if any of you feel a need that you want to communicate with me, write me by email. My email address is in the description box. The last line down is israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. Israel Giving, one word with a 7 at the end, gmail.com. Just give me an email, and if, we could possibly arrange a communication by voice over the internet. But want to know who you are normally for that. And that's what I got going on, guys. And thanks, and I'm out.